Great afternoon, everybody. Happy and blessed Wednesday. For those of you who are new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Catherine Barnett, and I go by Cat Barnett. And this is the Cat Barnett Podcast, episode 55. And I help women who struggle with confidence in their faith and fitness develop strategies and systems that lead them to gain clarity, direction, and purpose so that they can be fulfilled as they walk in their calling faithfully. Welcome, welcome, y'all. And, you know, I just want to say I don't take being here with you guys each and every week lightly. And it's crazy that I've showed up consistently every Wednesday for 55 episodes. I don't know how many weeks that correlates to, but this is probably one of the most consistent things that I've done besides, my fitness that I'm passionate about. So I just want y'all to know this is something that I truly enjoy doing. And yeah, and I'm grateful to be here with you guys. Actually, this is the first time I'm with you guys in the month of August. So that's crazy that we're already in the first full week of August, but second week. And time just keeps going. So definitely check that mid-year check-in episode that I dropped if you haven't yet. And yeah, today I want to talk about a topic that honestly, to be truthful with you guys, because how close um this topic is to home, it hits home to me very closely. So I try to avoid this topic, but I've come to find out that, even though it's getting better, there's still so many people suffering in silence. There's so still many people feeling like suicide is the only way out to get them out of their pain, their suffering, their hopelessness, whatever they're feeling. And I know that it would do a disservice if I didn't come on here and then just encourage one person, whoever's watching this live or the replay, that you're worthy to be on this planet Earth, and you're valuable, and so you're meant to be here, you deserve to be here. And I just want to encourage anybody who's feeling heavy or just feeling lost or depressed or just going through something to hold on and keep going, because there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I hope that resonates with one person on here or who's going to watch the replay. So, yeah, this is a topic that unfortunately I found out about when I was just about 16, 17 years old. I had a friend commit suicide, and that's when I really um, found out about it more. But so over the time when that started, that's when I was like, wow, this is crazy that um, people are actually doing this. So I became from a young girl, I vowed to do whatever I can to help prevent suicide, or just anybody that I know that is struggling, because the strong people are the ones we need to look out for. The ones that look like they have it all together, those are the people you need to be checking on. Um, just because you never know what people are going through. So, with that being said, I want to break into what uh, the facts are of suicide, and then your girl likes to break down what is uh the definition of the topic I'm talking about. So we'll get to all that. So suicide is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. And it is the second leading cause of death for people aged from 10 to 34. And the highest rate of suicide occurs in persons of 75 years of age or older. I thought that was really crazy and fascinating doing the research. And the impact of suicide in communities makes suicide a serious public health problem, y'all. And I love um getting stronger. I love uh looking better physically. I'm always gonna support and encourage us to become better, our best selves in our body and in our minds. But I stress to you guys each and every sometimes episode that mental health is way more important than the physical aspect. And right now, there's a lot of people suffering in their minds and silently. And so it's I think one of my duties is to be an advocate out here and let people know that they're not alone, and that there's always someone out there that cares for you and that loves you. And so, just to say a little bit more of the statistics and the facts, in 2022, in the US, more than 49,000 people died by suicide, and there were an estimated 1.7 million people that attempted suicide. And according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, and that was also what they came up with in 2021. So this is one death by suicide every 11 minutes when we break it down. And that just blows my mind. That's crazy. And I thought it was also very interesting that men were more than 3 times more likely than women to take their lives. Firearms are the most common method of suicide, used in about half of all suicides. I also thought that was very interesting. So, reading and doing the research, my heart was very heavy to hear that, the statistics are pretty high. There's a high amount of people committing suicide. But what encouraged me and lifted my spirit was that to find out that suicide is preventable. Knowing the risk factors and recognizing the warning signs for suicide that someone may be showing can help prevent suicide. So, what's suicide in the first place? Let's talk about that before we get deeper into this episode. So, suicide is linked to mental disorders, particularly depression and alcohol use disorders. And the strongest risk factor for suicide is a previous suicide attempt. The Suicide Prevention Resource Center defines risk and protective factors and warning signs. So let's break those down as well. So, risk factors are characteristics that make it more likely that an individual will consider, attempt, or die by suicide. Warning signs indicate an immediate risk of suicide. And then protective factors are characteristics that make it less likely that individuals will consider, attempt, or die by suicide. So, individual, relationship, community, and societal factors can increase the risk of suicide, um, such as like the risk factors are previous suicide attempts. If you know somebody that has attempted suicide before, please check up on them frequently, see how they're doing. because chances are they may try to attempt it again. Um, another risk factor is that a history of suicide could run in their family. So, um, find out if you have a friend that you know is depressed or something. See if depression runs in their family, or um, ways that previous people in their family dealt with it and how did they prevent it or overcome it. Another thing is Another risk factor is substance abuse, mood disorders like such as depression, bipolar disorder, access to lethal means, for example, keeping firearms in the home or having access to unsecured prescribed medications, or not prescribed, just prescription medications. Because most of the time, unless you're, and we'll get into that further in the episode, but most of the time, if you are suicidal and you tell a healthcare uh, um, person of that sort, chances are a doctor may put you on medication that is prescribed, but most of the time, people are taking pills that are not prescribed to them. Another a few risk factors are losses and other events like the breakup of a relationship or a death, academic failures, legal difficulties, financial difficulties of that sort, history of trauma or abuse, bullying, chronic physical illness, including chronic pain, social isolation, historical trauma, stigma associated with seeking help, and the list goes on and on. But those are just a few risk factors. So if you know anybody um, that is going through these things or experiencing them, they are at a risk of committing suicide. And in some cases, uh, a recent stressor or sudden catastrophic event, failure, or can leave people feeling desperate, unable to see a way out, and become a tipping point towards suicide. I know a lot of people, the last resort is like, it's just a buildup, and then something happens where it feels to them that it's the breaking point and the tipping point, and it's just what crushes them, and that's when they decide to go through with suicide. And the CDC reports the complexity of suicide, so it's crazy just doing the research how deep it can get, because while a mental health condition may be a contributing factor for many people committing suicide, many factors contribute to suicide among people with and without known mental health conditions. So, a relationship problem was the top factor contributing to suicide, followed by crisis in the past or upcoming weeks and problematic substance abuse. So, I think that's crazy that people are really killing themselves because a relationship didn't go the way they wanted it to, or they're overdosing because they got broken up with. And it's just it really just hurts my heart to think that they think that their world is over um because of that. Um, about half, 54% of people who died by suicide did not have a known mental health condition. However, many of them may have been dealing with mental health challenges that had not been diagnosed or known to those around them. Like, that is very crazy. That's why check on your strong friends. You never know who is suffering in silence, because we do a good job of that as people. We don't like to feel like we're a burden to others, so we just are like, no, no, I'm fine. When in reality, we're not fine. So if you're not fine, speak up, because that's not weakness. That's actually strength to um, be vulnerable, to tell people that, yes, you're going through something, you're hurting. And some warning signs, if you think your significant other or a really close family member or friend is going through something, some warning signs to look out for if you believe they may be on the verge of committing suicide is often talking or writing about death, dying, or suicide, making comments about being hopeless, helpless, or worthless, expressions of having no reason for living, no sense of purpose in life, saying things like, it would be better if I wasn't here, or I want out. Be on the lookout for that. Increased alcohol and or drug use. Um, it concerns me uh because I work at a sports complex, and it concerns me that and we have access to liquor there and alcohol. We have our alcohol license. A lot of us who are over 21 have our alcohol license, so we can serve beer and alcohol there. But it really concerns me how many people drink, even during a sporting event. You know what I mean? Or how many people drink as soon as they get done playing at a sporting event. Like I personally don't get it. I personally don't understand it. But that's stuff that's not okay, and I don't think that we should normalize that. And I also feel like we need to, as a society and a community, be on the lookout for that. Also be on the lookout if um your friends or your family or your community are withdrawing from you. That's also a red flag. Reckless behavior or more risky activities, seemingly without thinking. Dramatic mood changes are also warning signs. And if they're talking about feeling trapped, these are all warning signs to be on the lookout for. And relationships are certainly pretty heavy things, and the personal issues that someone deals with deserve to be discussed, and we all should have a level of concern. I completely agree, my brother Mitch. You are correct. And I mean, it's like I said, I was encouraged because by seeing things, like if we see these warning signs, there are things that we can do. So that's what encouraged me even more. So, um, what are some things that we can do, that if you're asking or wondering? Okay, so let's go over some steps that we can take to support a loved one that may be experiencing suicidal thoughts. So, there's always, wherever what state you're in, a suicide crisis and lifeline that you can research and look out to and call, that can help you. And then these are free resources as well. But I think sometimes where it falls under, people think they're being a burden or that no one cares about them, that they don't do these things. So I'm just here to say that you do matter and people do care. And don't give up on yourself, because you are worthy. So, what's the first thing that I believe that we can do is ask someone that you are concerned about if they're thinking about suicide. You know, there's no time to sugarcoat any of this. No, you got to be actually very bold, and you got to be blunt. Because studies show that asking someone if they are having thoughts of suicide does not increase the likelihood of a completed suicide, nor does it increase suicidal thoughts. Because what it comes down to in life, we all want to feel like we um are cared for, that we are appreciated, and that we are loved. So when you ask someone, that shows that you are concerned and that you actually care for them, and um want to help. So that will change. I feel like a person that's suicidal will change their thoughts immediately, because they're like, oh, someone actually took the time out of their day to ask me if I'm suicidal, to ask me, am I hurting? And they actually care. So the next one I think is be there for them. And this could be by phone or in person. Like support can look different in various ways. And it can be, on a side note, just to be vulnerable with you guys. I have never ever experienced suicidal thoughts, thank God. But I have felt like I've been hopeless, like I've don't matter. I've not known my purpose before. I've been depressed. So I can relate in certain aspects. And I think on the other side of, if you know someone who's going through a hard time, and you don't even live in the same state, or yeah, you guys are in the same state but different cities, or even different states, that can also be hard. But I think checking on them, if they're willing to FaceTime, um that is beneficial. But it can also, you have to act, I think, too, find out, because this can get, like I said, can get kind of sticky. So as a friend, if you knew someone was suicidal or going through a hard time, you also, for your sanity, have to keep in mind, you still have to have a boundary. Even though you know and you want to be there for your friend that's suffering or this, you still have to make sure that your mental is intact and that you're good before you can even help them. So if you're not good, the best thing that you can do for your friend is say, and be honest with them and say, look, I don't have the capacity, or am not even in the right space right now to help you, because I'm trying to help myself. So that's kind of a side note tangent, but I want to throw that in there because it's not about you suffering too to help somebody else. Like, you got to be good before you can help somebody else. Let's keep that in mind. All right. And then the next thing is keep them safe. If you're a parent and it's a kid, because I've known a family friend parent that the kid committed suicide, right? So as a parent, you have to, I know it can be hard, I can only imagine, but you have to reduce access to lethal means for those at risk. So that means, like, maybe putting like a safe thing on your utensils, because those are considered weapons at this point for someone who you live with that's suicidal. Or I like to say, if somebody's suicidal, there's no privacy. You're checking their rooms, you're checking their cars to make sure they don't have a firearm. Because um unfortunately, this woman who uh is a family friend to us, she knew her son was suicidal. She knew he was struggling. Um and she would try to get him help and all this stuff. But as a mom and everything, you still got to work and everything. And so you're not constantly a 24/7 by your child. But unfortunately, her son somehow, because he was probably 20 or not even older than that, somehow got his hand on a firearm and took his life in his bedroom. when she was at work. And unfortunately, I can only imagine, I'm not going to get into the graphics or anything, but to find someone committed suicide, that's also traumatic. That's very, very traumatic. So I encourage anyone who who is suicidal, or that you found suicidal, you need to seek some therapy as well, because that's suicide. That's very traumatic. I know when my friend committed suicide when I was only 17 years old. Thank God I wasn't the one who found her, but just I can only imagine. But that still affected me tremendously, where I needed to talk to someone. So, um, for about maybe a month or so, I talked to a therapist, and expressed my feelings, because sometimes your family wants to help, but they don't know how. So, never be afraid to talk to someone. Never be afraid of that. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think too, another thing that we can do is, yeah, help them connect with ongoing support. So whether that's plug them into a therapist, plug them into a community that is also struggling with hopelessness, unworthiness, the lies that I say is all the devil, because that's all the devil feeding them lies. Connect them to a community where they feel like they know that they're not alone, and that they can lean on others. Um, and then I think the last thing that we can do is, follow up, give them a call or a visit, send a text or an email to let them know you are still present. I had a college friend that, I just hadn't heard from her in a while. She went, I would say, ghost. Um, but she had been on my heart for like months, and finally, a couple weeks ago, I reached out to her, and I was like, "Hey, girl, I just wanted you to know I hadn't heard from you in a while. I hope you're doing good." And come to find out, she told me, my aunt was murdered. She died, and she's like, "I've been going through it, and I just appreciate you for reaching out, because um, I was in a dark place for a while, and I had no idea. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so like, I felt bad, because I'm like, man, I wish I would have reached out sooner. But I want you to know I'm here for you. Anything you need." And now I'm going to be checking on her, because we all need somebody to be checking on us, or to just show that they care, and that we feel like people really um love and care about us. So uh never be afraid to reach out to someone or check on them, even if it's just, "Hey, I'm thinking of you. um you crossed my mind, hope you're doing okay." I send those texts a lot. I'm like, "Hey, you just crossed my mind, hope you're doing well." Boom. Because life is so short, and we cannot take things for granted. And uh to wrap this all up, I know this has been a longer episode, because it's just something that really touches my heart, and I thought if I can encourage one person to know that they're valuable, they're worthy, they're loved, and you matter, then I'm doing my job. So uh with that being said, just check on your strong folks, check on your strong friends, your strong family members, because they're going through stuff too. So with that being said, though, I hope you guys all have a great rest of your Wednesday, and even better week. Peace, love, and blessings to you all. And just know, God, I love you, but God loves you even more. All right. Peace.